We are going to start with our 2-minute opening statements. Ms. Kenneth, you have the first. You may go first.
Perfect. Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Kenneth Collins, and I'm running for president this year. I think that I would make a great candidate for president because I've already been on the board of directors here at San Francisco State University for 2 years, and prior to that, I worked for ASI for 2 years. So
go and step forward.
Cumulatively, I've got 4 years of experience, and as a person, I've always considered myself to be a global thinker. I see big picture. I can see the issues that affect all the students on this campus, and that's what I want to do if elected as your president. I want to be that voice to represent all students on campus.
All right. Do any of the other candidates have questions, Mr. Collins? For Kenny.
Hello. Kenny, I have a couple questions. Are we allowed to ask more than one question?
We can only ask one question per candidate.
Perfect. Okay, for Kenny, I'd like to ask, he just talked about the big picture, so I want to know what the big picture is and how you can support students in making that happen.
Okay, so for me, the big picture is student need, and that is one picture that has multiple different things that fall under that. So, for example, I've always been an advocate for sustainability. I've been the parliamentarian for 2 years, and this year specifically, I've been working very hard with the Sustainability Initiative Group to get resolutions go from the rules committees through the board and get passed. Since last semester, I've been working on a zero waste policy that would affect all of the programs and all of the events that they go on. In addition to that, I've always been an advocate for increasing the student funding here on campus for student organizations because I firmly believe that getting students involved, whether it be in the student government itself or the student organizations, I want to streamline that funding and make it easier for students to have access to funds to be able to put on their events.
Thank you.
All right. Vivian or Marco, do you have any questions for Kenny?
Would you like to go first?
Sure. Okay, Kenny, well, since you have experience and you've been involved for cumulatively 4 years, what changes or impacts have you made at SFSU?
Changes and impacts. Okay, well, my first year when I was on the board of directors, one of the biggest things that we had been working on was making sure that students had a way to get involved. And something that I've personally taken a lot of stock in is our internship. That's something that I've worked on, and it is something that I want to continue to grow and make sure that it is something that students get involved in. This year in particular, though, my biggest focus has actually been making sure that the transition and the synergy between the Student Center and ASI is something that goes strong. I've personally worked tirelessly to make sure that in this new model, there's actually going to be an increased voice for students on the student government here. Because in the new model that I'm proposing, there's actually going to be on every single board below the council that there's going to be a spot for students to have a voice and a vote on our student government, which is something that they don't currently have.
All right.
Speaking of students, Kennedy, since you got on the subject of students, notice from the past experience on the board this year, I noticed that a lot of board members found that when a lot of students lobbied to voice their concerns, they found it real intimidating as the board members made their decision. And with the more concerns arising with the new synergy coming up and the more student advocacy as it's rising within the next couple of years, how are you going to be able to handle when a lot of students come to lobby to voice their concerns, to really, to amplify their voice on the board level, to really find answers?
So the way that I would handle that is we always allow students to come to our board meetings and have their voice. But what I really want to push for as president is to increase that voice. I want students to be able to have more voice on our board. I think that is something that our current board has always missed. And for the 2 years that I've been an elected official, I mean, you can ask most of my coworkers. I love to talk. I talk a lot. And that's what I feel like you should do as an elected official. We were elected in here to be the voice of students, and I feel like that's something that I've always done. I talk at every single board meeting. I make sure that when students come to me with their issues, that I bring it to the board. I don't just keep it in myself, and I've always lobbied to make sure that the student voice is heard. I always lobbied to be that voice on the board for the students, and I'd continue to do that as president.
All right, thank you very much everyone for your questions.